Hello, welcome to my 1970 Chevelle SS 454 time-lapse video build. So this is us tearing the paint booth down. We made out of about $35 worth of PVC and some plastic. Overall, it's probably about $75 total in a booth with a $16 box fan and some furnace filters for inlets. Made a cross downdraft and it worked well. So paint turned out awesome. Sticking the door on here, lining it up with the door jamb. We taped everything off down below where you kind of have to watch, making sure you don't bump the door jamb. So we had the hinges lined up on the door already, painted those on the door, and then mainly just had to line them up onto the body there, get it to work. So that went on pretty good. No major issues. Had really good door lines, kind of already pre-fitted before I painted it. So we had all the shims ready to go for the fender here as we lined it up with the door. So you put it on while it's open and then get all your shims kind of in place, leave everything loose, close that door, make sure nothing rubs, and then start working that line again. And with the shims already figured out and predetermined, before paint, it went together pretty smooth and lined up well. So while it was down on the floor, we also stuck the SS emblems on the side, the SS 454. That part you couldn't see. Sorry, we're so far away here, but it was just a cheap little GoPro mock camera here, just catching some footage. So put the little screw caps on the back of the SS emblems to hold it in, and moved over to the other side. Got the hood hinge on there. We had that scored, so we know where to line that one up. For the most part, we did some minor adjustment later. We'll talk about that. So here's a lunch break where we disappear. And then come back to putting the door on the driver's side, which the camera froze up there or had ran out of battery. So this was over a 6-hour period, believe it or not, 6, maybe 7 hours. Door went on just the same, no problem. Stuck the door handle on it, no big deal there. New seals. Stuck the fender on, lined up the gap, and started to work the fender with all the shims, getting everything in place, making sure it fits that wheel well too. That was the other thing, is when you're putting it on the wheel well, you got to start with that middle top bolt on the wheel well and work your way down from middle to back and middle to front at the same time. So we kind of took turns doing that. If you don't start at the top middle, then you'll get to the front and you'll never be able to get your bolt started. So just a second ago, you may have seen one clip where we were measuring across the hood before we do the grill here. We were just doing measurements to make sure our hood was square, and we did a diagonal measurement as well, and it was dead on perfect. So we just were fortunate there and where the fenders lined up on the radiator core support to make it square. So the grill went on, came back off. Something wasn't quite right as far as the alignment of the hood hinge bracket and all that stuff. We had to kind of scoot it over a little bit. So that got done. The fender extensions went on pretty good. Once we figured out how they lined up with the grill, went on and didn't have any problems with them really until coming up here when we set the hood on and close it and look at the lines. So at this point, we have not chipped anything on the car, and I'll ruin the excitement, but we still haven't. So we were really fortunate. Getting the bolts in the headlight or the fender extensions there was a little tricky with the lights in. Forgot to take the bulbs out, and then thought, well, we can get it, without bumping anything, and we did. But it just took a little bit more time probably than what it would have. So we put the hood on here. We had the hood hinges scored on the fenders, but not on the hood because it just had all fresh paint, so there's no way to really mark it. And so it took some really careful up and down, and you'll see it just go up and down and up and down in these photos as we're trying to line up this driver's side extension. Just gave us a lot of trouble. So with that fender being new, it was in just a little bit too far, and so we really had to take the fender extension off, grind some adjustment holes, pull it back out, stick it back on probably about 3 times. Being that these are a minute, some of this happens fairly quick where you just set it on, check it, pull it back off, and the hood goes up and down, up and down. So more times than it'll ever do now from here on out for the rest of the car's life probably. But once we got that lined up, man, it turned out really, really good. I was happy with the lines. Everything's consistent. The door goes up, the hood goes up and down well without looking like it's going to hit. Some of these old cars have hinges that'll rub on the fenders. You go to car shows and you always see the inside of the fenders near the back there where it pivots inside of itself. It's always rubbed. So I'm still pretty careful about that because those hinges are still, that's a heavy hood with a functioning cowl on it. So it's just kind of, it can move around a little bit. So we were careful with it. Lining up the hood pins here, and had to whop out the holes just a little bit to scoot the hood pins to the center of the plates, and it turned out perfect. So thank my father-in-law, Mike Mahalik, for all the help and support.